Three stones at Baalbek weigh more than 2,000 cars combined. The megalith builders achieved engineering at an unimaginable scale, and their work defies everything we assume about the ancient world. By the end of this exploration, you will understand how a nameless civilization moved mountains of stone and why their methods remain a profound mystery. We will investigate how blocks heavier than jumbo jets were quarried and what secret knowledge might have been lost to time. What does it take for human ambition to leave a mark that lasts for millennia? A crossroads of empires, the Bekaa Valley cradles Baalbek like a precious jewel. This was not a remote outpost but a vibrant hub where cultures and ideas flowed as freely as the trade routes that connected the Mediterranean world. For centuries, the Phoenicians and later the Romans recognized the profound power of this place, layering temple upon temple to create a landscape pulsating with spiritual significance. Imagine a site so sacred that successive world powers felt compelled to build here, each adding their own chapter to an unfolding story written in stone. The sheer scale of construction hints at a purpose far greater than simple architecture. This was a destination, a place where humanity sought to touch the divine. The strategic geography provided more than just spiritual allure. It offered access to vital resources and the collective knowledge of passing civilizations. Historians suggest the site was dedicated to a powerful triad of deities, which would explain the immense effort invested. To build on such a scale was an act of devotion, a statement of faith meant to endure for all time. The valley did not just host these grand projects, it enabled them, its very location shaping the destiny of the stones that would come to defy explanation. Rising from the platform of the Acropolis, the Trilithon is a statement of pure confidence. Three colossal limestone blocks, each one estimated to weigh around 800 tons, are fitted together so perfectly that not even the thinnest razor blade can be inserted between them. That weight is more than two fully loaded jumbo jets, a scale of stone that seems to belong to a different age of the world entirely. And the mystery only deepens when you realize these stones were not from a local hillside. They were quarried from a site over a mile away, then lifted over 20 feet to form the base of what would become the Temple of Jupiter. The question of how they achieved this is a puzzle that has captivated engineers for centuries. The prevailing theory involves a monumental effort of human labor, using wooden rollers, enormous levers, and teams of workers pulling on ropes. Yet, even with these tools, the logistics strain belief. How do you steer an 800-ton block over uneven ground? How do you prevent the wooden rollers from splintering under the unimaginable pressure? And how do you position it with such hair-thin accuracy? This was not just brute force, it was applied physics on a scale we can scarcely comprehend. The builders possessed a profound understanding of weight, friction, and balance. Their society had to be organized enough to support, house, and direct a workforce for generations, all dedicated to this single, breathtaking goal. To stand before the Trilithon is to witness a civilization's ultimate ambition, a permanent mark on the world that continues to challenge our assumptions about the past. The name itself carries an echo of the past, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a title born from local legend. For generations, stories have whispered that any woman hoping for a child could touch this colossal stone and receive its blessing. This folklore wraps the granite in a layer of deep cultural meaning, connecting it to the most fundamental human hopes. But the true awe of this stone is not found in myth, it is found in its staggering physical reality. Left in its quarry, this single block of stone measures an astounding 21.5 meters long. Its estimated weight surpasses 1,000 tons, making it the single largest known worked stone from the ancient world. To stand beside it is to feel dwarfed, not just by its size, but by the sheer ambition it represents. it was likely intended for a structure even grander than the Trilithon, a project that for reasons lost to time was never finished. This unfinished state is a frozen moment, a snapshot of ancient engineering paused in its tracks. Geological studies confirm the precision of its shaping, its surfaces cut and prepared with clear intent. This raises profound questions for modern engineers. What tools could possibly cut and dress a stone of such unimaginable mass? The legends of blessing and cultural significance offer a vital clue to the motivation behind such a task. Perhaps the builders were not just moving stone, they were performing an act of devotion, a physical prayer to powers they believed governed life itself. The stone story is a powerful reminder that human ambition is often fueled by something deeper than pure capability, a drive to create legacies that touch both the earth and the heavens. The quarries themselves hold the first clues to this monumental puzzle. Scattered across the landscape near Baalbek, the ancient extraction sites are a frozen workshop, displaying a methodical process that borders on artistry. Instead of random hacking, workers carved deep, narrow channels directly into the bedrock, meticulously outlining each block on all sides. Using tools of bronze and later iron, they would carefully shape the stone, inch by patient inch, to isolate these giants from the living rock. It was a process of subtraction, revealing the form within the mountain. But how did they manage to separate such immense weights from the quarry floor? Evidence suggests they employed a clever technique of thermal shock. They would build controlled fires directly on the surface of the stone, heating the rock until it expanded. Then, just as swiftly, they would douse the flames with water, causing the stone to contract rapidly and fracture along predetermined lines. This thoughtful use of physics created clean breaks that brute force alone could never achieve. Once the block was outlined and undercut, teams of laborers would drive wooden or metal wedges into the channels, hammering them in sequence to gradually lift and fully free the monolith. This was not a quick job. Extracting a single 1,000-ton block would have required a coordinated, skilled workforce operating for months, perhaps even years. The precision seen in these quarries reveals a sophisticated understanding of material properties and fracture mechanics. This was engineering, not just excavation. It demonstrates a culture that had turned stoneworking into a precise science, one where knowledge passed down through generations allowed them to achieve what we still struggle to explain. The true question then shifts from how they cut the stone to how they moved it. Moving a mountain of stone begins with a single, impossible question. How do you transport an 800-ton block over a mile of uneven ground? The prevailing theory paints a picture of immense, coordinated labor. Imagine teams of workers, perhaps thousands strong, pulling on thick ropes made of hemp. The block itself would be placed atop a massive wooden sledge. To reduce the overwhelming friction, the path ahead might have been paved with wooden tracks, constantly lubricated with water, mud, or even olive oil to help the sledge glide forward. This method, while theoretically possible, presents staggering practical challenges. The wooden tracks would need to be incredibly strong to avoid splintering under the weight, requiring a constant supply of timber and a team to reposition the rails from back to front. Even with a perfectly prepared path, the force required to initiate movement is almost beyond comprehension. Some researchers have proposed an alternative, a system of pivots and counterweights that could have allowed the builders to rock the stones forward in a painstakingly slow, controlled shuffle. Experimental archaeology has tried to test these ideas. Teams have successfully moved smaller replicas, perhaps weighing 50 or 100 tons, using these very techniques. Yet every attempt to scale up to the colossal dimensions of Baalbek's megaliths has fallen dramatically short. The sheer mass of a 1,000-ton stone creates forces that shatter modern wooden replicas and overwhelm even large groups of volunteers. This gap between theory and reality points to a lost nuance, a piece of practical knowledge that has not survived the centuries. Perhaps the builders used a specific type of wood, or a unique lubricant, or a rhythmic pulling technique that maximized collective effort. The true marvel, then, may not be the physical act of moving the stone, but the social organization required to make it happen. Coordinating such an endeavor implies a society with incredible project management skills. Someone had to plan the route, secure the food and water for the workforce, manage the housing, and maintain morale for a project that could take years for a single stone. This was a communal effort on a scale that dwarfs the construction of most modern buildings. It speaks of a shared purpose so powerful that it could mobilize an entire civilization to achieve a single, breathtaking goal. If moving the stones was this complex, then the final act of lifting them into place presents an even more profound engineering mystery. While the towering stones capture our gaze, the true genius of Baalbek lies beneath our feet. A massive platform of foundation stones forms the stage for the entire Acropolis, a hidden masterpiece of engineering designed for eternity. This was not a simple foundation. It was a sophisticated response to a volatile landscape. The Bekaa Valley is a seismically active region, prone to the tremors that have toppled many ancient wonders. The builders understood this challenge and engineered a solution that has survived for thousands of years. They began by creating a deep bed of compacted gravel, a flexible layer that could absorb and redistribute the powerful energy of an earthquake, preventing it from damaging the structures above. Upon this resilient base, they laid a complex network of smaller, meticulously shaped stones. Each block was fitted to its neighbor with interlocking joints, a technique that transformed countless individual pieces into a single, unified mass. This design was not about brute strength alone, it was about intelligent flexibility. When the ground shook, this interlocked platform could shift and settle as one unit, dispersing destructive forces instead of resisting them rigidly. The precision of this work is astonishing. Archaeologists note that the joints are so tight they required no mortar, relying instead on perfect geometry to lock everything in place. This reveals a long-term vision that is almost beyond our modern comprehension. They were not building for their own time, they were building for a future they would never see. They planned for the inevitable Earth movements and the shifting weight of centuries. This foundational foresight ensured that their sacred site would endure not just changes in rule or culture, but the relentless tests of geology itself. To understand Baalbek, you must look down. The real secret to its longevity is not just in the stones that stand, but in the brilliant, hidden foundation that holds them all aloft. The Romans arrived and saw a mystery written in stone. When their legions entered the Bekaa Valley, they did not find an empty space but a landscape already shaped by a colossal, pre-existing platform. Rather than take apart these enigmatic walls, the Roman engineers did something remarkable. They built upon them, weaving the massive stone blocks directly into the foundations of their own temple of Jupiter. This was not an act of removal, but one of respect and practicality. They understood the unmatched strength and stability of the earlier foundations, choosing to blend their imperial architecture into a fabric they could not reproduce. The sheer scale of the existing stones even influenced Roman stories. Writings found at the site describe the giant walls as the work of a legendary race, a clear recognition that the construction predated them and stood on a scale beyond ordinary human effort. This created a visible layering of history, a sacred narrative written and rewritten in stone. The clean, defined lines of Roman column drums and detailed cornices rest directly upon the time-worn, monumental blocks of an earlier people. You can stand at the base of the Temple of Jupiter and see two different worlds, two separate eras of human vision, joined together into one breathtaking monument. This layering shows a deep continuity of honor. For the Romans, this was already a place of deep meaning, its presence so powerful that the only sensible path was to build upon it, to add their own voice to an ancient tale. Their changes offer us important chronological markers, helping researchers trace the site's long story. But this Roman recognition invites a deeper question. If the technologically advanced Romans, with their vast empire and celebrated skill, looked upon these walls and saw the work of legendary beings, what does that suggest about the original builders themselves? Their choices encourage us to look past the Roman splendor further into the earlier time, to an age when another culture achieved what seems almost beyond reach. Long before the Romans stamped their identity on this land, a different sacred energy pulsed through the valley. The origins of Baalbek reach back into a much deeper past, likely as a major Phoenician or even Canaanite sanctuary. This was a place of profound spiritual significance for cultures whose names have faded from common memory. Some researchers, examining the site's staggering scale and precision, have proposed connections to far older civilizations, perhaps even the Sumerians, or a culture whose history is now entirely lost to us. The evidence for these first builders is not written in ledgers or royal decrees, but in the silent language of the stones themselves. Subtle stylistic elements in the foundational masonry, distinct from later Roman work, and artifacts recovered from the deepest layers of soil point to a sophisticated society with a complex worldview. They oriented their structures with celestial bodies, aligning walls and platforms with the sun and stars, weaving their architecture into the fabric of the cosmos. What kind of people possessed not only the engineering skill to move mountains, but the astronomical knowledge to anchor them to the heavens? This question lies at the heart of the mystery. With written records from this early period being virtually non-existent, archaeologists become detectives, piecing together clues from fragments of pottery, weathered carvings, and the very alignment of the platform. Each shard, each subtle mark, is a whisper from a world we are still struggling to hear. These tantalizing hints suggest a culture that viewed their construction as a divine dialogue, a physical prayer offered to powers they revered. Uncovering the truth of these origins does more than satisfy curiosity. It actively challenges our conventional historical timelines. It suggests that the drive to build on a monumental scale, to reach for the impossible, is a thread woven deep into the human story, one that appears in different ages across our shared history. The identity of the first builders remains one of archaeology's most compelling enigmas, a presence in the stonework whose ambition set the stage for everything that followed. The stones of Baalbek do not just anchor the site to the earth, they connect it directly to the sky. Scholars studying the complex have found that the foundational platform and the later Roman temples are precisely oriented toward the rising sun on the summer solstice. This was not a coincidence, it was a deliberate act of alignment, a way to weave the cycles of the cosmos directly into the fabric of the sacred space. On that longest day of the year, sunlight would have streamed along specific pathways, perhaps illuminating a central altar or casting long, significant shadows that marked a sacred calendar. This deep understanding of astronomy transformed the entire complex into a colossal clock and a celestial map. It allowed the people to track the passing seasons with astonishing accuracy, guiding the optimal times for planting, harvesting, and holding their most important ceremonies. The movement of stars like Sirius, visible in the night sky from the platform, may have also played a role, their positions signaling events that guided both ritual and daily life. This integration reveals a culture that saw no separation between the earthly and the divine. For them, building was an act of cosmic participation. By aligning their greatest work with the heavens, they were ensuring their place within a universal order. The precision required for such alignments hints at generations of accumulated observation, knowledge passed down and refined over centuries. Why go to such extraordinary lengths? The answer lies in the meaning it bestowed, A temple aligned with the sun is not just a building, it becomes a conduit, a place where heaven touches earth. Every solstice sunrise was a reaffirmation of that connection, a moment when the architecture itself proved their world was in harmony with the divine. This celestial design philosophy challenges the modern mind to see Baalbek not as a ruin, but as a living instrument, one whose true purpose was to measure time, honor the cosmos, and bridge the gap between humanity and the infinite. The stones themselves seem to pulse with a sense of reverence that transcends any single faith. For thousands of years, this was not merely a construction site, but a destination for the soul. Pilgrims journeyed from across the known world, drawn by the magnetic pull of the divine. First, they came to honor Baal, the powerful sky god of the Canaanites. Then, under Roman rule, the site was rededicated to Jupiter, with his temple rising to become the largest in the entire empire. Even as the centuries turned and new beliefs took root, the sacred nature of this place endured, seamlessly transitioning into a center for Christian worship and later, an important Muslim holy site. This unbroken chain of devotion suggests something profound about the human spirit. The specific names of the deities changed, but the fundamental human yearning to connect with something greater than ourselves remained a constant. The immense scale of the labor involved, the generations spent moving these mountains of stone, only makes sense when you understand it as an act of collective faith. This was not work imposed by a tyrant, but a shared endeavor that forged a powerful communal identity. To contribute to such a project was to have your own life story woven directly into a grand spiritual tapestry. Imagine the ceremonies that animated these courtyards. The air would have been rich with the scent of burning incense and symbolic offerings. Priests in elaborate robes might have led solemn processions along precisely aligned pathways, their chants echoing off the massive stones. At key moments like the summer solstice, the entire community would gather to witness the celestial alignment, watching as the sunrise confirmed their place in a divine order. This direct, observable interaction with the heavens made the architecture itself a participant in their worship. The site's enduring preservation is a direct result of this layered sacredness. Each new culture that arrived recognized the profound power inherent in this ground. Instead of removing what came before, they built upon it, adding their own layer of meaning to an ongoing conversation with the divine. This continuous cycle of honor and adaptation protected the stones from the fate of so many other ancient places. The true legacy of Baalbek is not found in any one religion, but in its remarkable ability to speak to the sacred impulse that exists across all of them. Every engineering choice at Baalbek was a calculated act of preservation. The builders possessed a deep, intuitive grasp of physics, applying principles of stability that modern analysis continues to admire. They understood that to make a structure last for millennia, it had to be more than just strong, it had to be intelligent. One of their most effective strategies was the use of trapezoidal blocks. Unlike simple rectangles, these stones are wider at the base and narrower at the top. When fitted together, this shape creates a powerful interlocking effect, making the entire wall system resistant to shifting and settling. It is a principle we see in the oldest and most stable stone walls around the world, a way of letting gravity itself reinforce the construction. This same thoughtful design appears in the joints between the stones. Instead of flat, vertical seams, the masons often carved tapered or slightly angled connections. Imagine trying to pull apart two puzzle pieces that are wedge-shaped. The harder you pull, the more tightly they lock together. This is precisely the effect the builders achieved. These tapered joints transformed a collection of individual blocks into a single, unified mass that could withstand immense lateral forces, like those from an earthquake. The sheer mass of the stones was only part of the equation. The true genius was in how that mass was distributed and connected. modern engineers running calculations on the platform's design find that the center of gravity is exceptionally low and spread evenly across the foundation. This means the entire structure is incredibly difficult to tip over. The weight is channeled downward through the interlocking stones, dispersing the load efficiently into the prepared gravel base below. This reveals an implicit yet profound understanding of load distribution. They knew that a force applied to one part of the structure needed to be shared by the whole, preventing any single point from carrying too much strain. How did they acquire this sophisticated knowledge without formal textbooks or equations? The answer lies in generations of hands-on learning. This was a culture that built, observed, and refined their techniques over centuries. They learned through trial and error which shapes held firm and which connections proved less durable. They passed down this hard-won wisdom from master to apprentice, creating a living library of architectural insight. The physical effort of moving the stones is astonishing, but the intellectual achievement of designing their placement is what truly allowed their work to stand through the ages. Yet Baalbek's story is not an isolated one. When we place its colossal stones next to other wonders of the ancient world, a fascinating pattern of human ambition emerges. Consider the Great Pyramids of Giza, structures that reach for the sky with their iconic triangular form. Their power is vertical, a ladder pointing toward the heavens. Baalbek, in contrast, expresses its might horizontally, through immense platforms and sprawling enclosures that claim dominion over the earth itself. Both sites display a breathtaking mastery of stone, and both are meticulously aligned with celestial events, proving that cultures separated by vast distances shared a deep desire to connect their architecture with the cosmos. In the highlands of Peru, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman showcases another approach. There, builders fitted enormous, irregularly shaped stones together in a complex, interlocking puzzle, achieving a different kind of precision without the need for mortar. Each of these cultures worked with the materials and tools they had, from bronze chisels to stone hammers, yet all arrived at a similar conclusion, that humanity could reshape the very foundations of the landscape. This global perspective shifts our understanding. The drive to build on a monumental scale appears to be a universal human impulse, a way for a society to express its identity, its beliefs, and its place in the universe. What differs is not the ambition, but the cultural language in which that ambition is spoken. The Egyptians chose the pyramid, the Inca the seamless wall, and the builders of Baalbek the impossible platform. This comparison does not diminish Baalbek's uniqueness, rather, it elevates it. It shows us that within a shared human story of reaching for the extraordinary, the achievement at Baalbek, in the sheer individual mass of its stones, represents one of the most audacious chapters ever written. Beyond the sheer weight of the stones lies a hidden dimension of their design. The structures at Baalbek resonate with a silent, mathematical harmony. Their layouts are not random arrangements but carefully calculated compositions, governed by precise geometric ratios like the golden section. This proportion, often found in nature and considered aesthetically ideal, was used to create a deep sense of visual balance and order. The builders likely used simple and brilliant tools to achieve this, stretching ropes between wooden pegs to map out their grand designs on the earth. With these basic instruments, they could inscribe perfect circles, right angles, and complex geometric shapes, laying out the entire ceremonial complex with an accuracy that rivals what we can achieve with modern tools. This was not math for its own sake. It was mathematics woven directly into the physical world. The same ratios that pleased the eye also served a critical structural purpose. The harmonious proportions ensured that the immense weight of the stones and the forces acting upon them were distributed optimally throughout the entire platform. A wall built with perfect geometric balance is inherently more stable, its load channeled efficiently downward into the foundation. This seamless integration points to a highly developed scholarly tradition. The knowledge required to execute such designs suggests the presence of a specialized class, perhaps priests or master architects, who understood both the spiritual symbolism of sacred geometry and the practical physics it enabled. They were not merely stacking rocks, they were solving complex equations in 3 dimensions using stone as their medium. To truly appreciate Baalbek, you must learn to see this invisible layer of thought. The beauty you perceive is not accidental. It is the direct result of a profound and calculated intelligence, a legacy of numbers made permanent in stone. Behind every stone moved was a breath, a heartbeat, a life. The silent stones of Baalbek are a testament to a vast and coordinated human effort, a society mobilized for a single, breathtaking goal. To quarry, transport, and lift these blocks would have required thousands of individuals, a workforce sustained across many generations. This was not a random gathering, but a complex social machine with clearly defined roles. At the top were the master architects, the visionaries who understood geometry and celestial alignments. Beneath them were the skilled artisans, the stonemasons who could shape granite with astonishing precision using simple tools. And supporting them all were the immense teams of manual laborers, the men who pulled the ropes, managed the sledges, and prepared the pathways. This monumental effort likely operated on a seasonal rhythm, synchronized with the agricultural calendar. During quieter periods in the farming year, entire communities would have contributed their labor, viewing the work not as a burden but as a sacred duty, a collective act of devotion that strengthened their bond with the divine and with each other. The logistical support needed for such an endeavor is almost as staggering as the engineering itself. Someone had to coordinate the food and water for this massive workforce, requiring vast supply chains of grain, olives, and other staples. Housing, tools, and clothing all had to be managed and maintained. This level of organization points to a highly structured, hierarchical society, one with powerful overseers and a clear chain of command capable of directing such a long-term project. While the physical demands on these workers were undoubtedly immense, the project's success would have forged an unbreakable sense of shared identity and cultural pride. To contribute, even in a small way, was to become part of something eternal. Each individual could look upon the rising platform and know that their own hands had helped build a legacy that would outlive them by thousands of years. This collective endeavor transformed the site from a simple construction project into the very heart of their civilization, a physical manifestation of their shared faith and communal strength. The true monument, then, is not just the stone, but the profound human collaboration that made it possible. The tools left behind tell a story of remarkable ingenuity, not magical intervention. In the quarries and on the dressed stones, we find the simple, brilliant instruments that turned ambition into reality. Bronze and copper chisels, along with stone hammers, were the primary cutting tools. While these metals are softer than granite, the builders discovered a clever trick called work hardening. By repeatedly hammering and cold working the metal's edge, they could temporarily increase its hardness, creating a durable enough point to fracture the crystalline structure of the stone. It was a slow, deliberate process, more like sculpting with countless tiny, precise impacts than with swift, powerful cuts. For deeper work, they employed tubular drills, likely made from hollow reeds or copper pipes. They would spin these drills with a bow-like mechanism, constantly feeding a slurry of abrasive sand and water into the groove. The hard quartz particles in the sand did the actual cutting, grinding away the stone grain by grain. This method required immense patience but resulted in incredibly clean, precise holes and channels. To smooth and polish the massive surfaces, teams would have used loose abrasives with flat stones or slabs, rubbing them back and forth for days or even weeks to achieve that signature finish. The true marvel, however, lies in the lifting and placement. Without cranes or hydraulics, they relied on the fundamental principles of the lever, the roller, and the inclined plane. Massive wooden cranes powered by human teams walking inside large treadmill wheels could provide the lifting force. Even more effective was the simple earth ramp. By building a great slope of compacted earth and rubble alongside a wall, workers could slowly drag a stone sledge up the incline, using the same rope and manpower that transported it. Once at the desired height, they could precisely position the block and then gradually dismantle the ramp from around it. Modern experiments have proven the effectiveness of these methods. Dedicated teams using replica tools have successfully quarried, shaped, and moved multi-ton stones, demonstrating that what seems impossible to us was entirely achievable with relentless effort and profound skill. The absence of complex machinery does not point to a lack of intelligence, but rather to a different kind of sophistication. This was a mastery of physics, material science, and patient, coordinated labor. The true tool was not the chisel in hand, but the accumulated knowledge of generations, a living technology passed from one skilled worker to the next. The true age of Baalbek is a puzzle written in layers of stone and soil. Scientists have turned to advanced techniques to read this story, yet the results often deepen the mystery rather than resolve it. Radiocarbon dating, for instance, analyzes organic materials trapped within the mortar used by Roman builders. This method consistently points to the 1st century before the Common Era, firmly placing the majestic temples we see today within the era of Roman expansion. But this only tells part of the tale. The enormous foundation stones upon which these temples rest tell a different story. They contain no mortar to sample, and their placement predates the Roman work by an unknown span of time. To explore this deeper past, researchers use other methods. Thermoluminescence dating measures the last time ceramics were fired, capturing a moment of ancient life. Archaeomagnetic techniques analyze the alignment of minerals in old hearths, frozen in time by heat. The data from these approaches can be conflicting, sometimes suggesting dates that stretch back thousands of years earlier, creating a vibrant and ongoing conversation among historians. This scientific uncertainty has understandably given rise to more speculative ideas. Some have proposed origins in legendary cultures, suggesting a connection to events or places described in ancient narratives. While these theories capture the imagination, they lack the physical evidence required by the scientific process. The core challenge is that the most impressive part of the site, the foundational platform, is also the most difficult to date directly. Its stones are silent on their own age, and the context around them has been built over and reused for millennia. This ongoing effort to assign a definitive timeline does more than just fuel academic discussion. It invites us to hold multiple possibilities in mind at once. Perhaps the history of human achievement is not a simple, linear progression, but a series of peaks and valleys, with moments of extraordinary capability emerging at different points in our deep past. The debate over Baalbek's age is not just about calendars. It is a fundamental question about the narrative of human history itself. Carved directly into the enduring stone, a silent language of symbols speaks across the centuries. Intricate reliefs of powerful gods, coiled serpents, and celestial bodies transform the massive blocks into a vast canvas of belief. A Roman-era frieze might depict Jupiter enthroned, his eagle beside him, a clear statement of imperial power and divine favor meant to awe every visitor. Yet, look closer and you may find older, more enigmatic motifs subtly integrated into the foundations, perhaps a local deity of the harvest or a stylized sunburst hinting at a deep, ancestral connection to the sky. These carvings were far more than simple decoration. They were a sophisticated form of communication, broadcasting theological ideas to a largely non-literate population and reinforcing the sacred authority of the priests and rulers who oversaw the temple's operations. To understand the meaning behind a carving of a lion, for instance, you need to know its cultural role. In one context, it might symbolize raw power and kingship, while in another, it could represent a protective guardian spirit watching over the space. Interpreting this visual language is like learning to read a forgotten script, where every symbol, every gesture, and every offering held a specific, deeply understood significance. A procession of figures carrying gifts was not just a pretty scene, it was a permanent record of ritual practice, a guide to the proper way to honor the divine. This layered symbolism reveals the site's true identity as a living, evolving document. It was not a static monument, but a place where meaning was constantly being written and rewritten, each culture adding its own chapter to an ongoing story of faith and power. Decoding these stone narratives allows us to see beyond the sheer engineering marvel and into the very minds of the people who built it, uncovering the hopes, worldviews, and cosmic understandings that motivated such an incredible effort. The legacy of Baalbek now depends on a new kind of collaboration. Modern conservation teams from around the world have become the site's latest guardians, employing sophisticated, non-invasive technologies to safeguard the ancient stones. High-resolution laser scanning creates precise digital models of every surface, allowing experts to monitor the slightest crack or shift over time without ever touching the monument. This careful stewardship is crucial, as the very elements that give the site its beauty, sun, wind, and rain, are also its slow and relentless companions. The gentle persistence of water over centuries can shape new contours into granite, while seasonal temperature changes gradually affect the stone from within. Perhaps the most complex challenge is balancing preservation with public access. The footsteps of countless admirers, while a testament to the site's enduring power, gradually affect the same surfaces they have come to witness. Conservationists must make thoughtful decisions about visitor pathways and protective barriers, all while ensuring the profound sense of wonder the site inspires remains undiminished. This global effort received a vital affirmation when UNESCO designated Baalbek a World Heritage Site, a recognition that elevates its importance to all of humanity and unlocks international funding and expertise. These meticulous efforts are not about freezing the ruins in time, but about responsibly managing their ongoing relationship with the forces of nature. They ensure that the questions posed by the megalith builders, their bold vision and their forgotten methods, will remain visible on the landscape for generations yet to come. This work transforms us from passive observers into active participants in Baalbek's long story. It is a reminder that we are temporary caretakers of a legacy that does not belong to us alone, but to the future itself, and that our greatest responsibility is to pass it on, whole and awe-inspiring, just as it was entrusted to us. These enormous stones inevitably invite grand speculation. Could such a monumental feat be the work of human hands alone, or does it point to something more, something beyond our conventional understanding of history? Some voices in popular culture have proposed extraordinary answers, suggesting the involvement of visitors from afar or a sophisticated global civilization now lost to time. These theories argue that the sheer mass and precision of the blocks are simply too great for any early society to have achieved, pointing to a gap in understanding that seems to defy explanation. They capture our imagination because they speak to a deep-seated wonder, a desire for mysteries that rewrite everything we think we know about our past. Yet, when we turn to the meticulous work of archaeologists and engineers, a different, equally compelling story emerges. These experts do not see a technological gap, but rather a profound testament to human capability. The methods used at this site, from quarrying with thermal shock to transporting with sledges and ramps, are all within the understood physical principles of the ancient world. What appears impossible from a modern perspective becomes achievable when you account for immense collective labor, generational dedication, and a culture that prioritized this sacred goal above all else. The true marvel is not a mystery of who, but a mystery of how, a demonstration of what human societies can accomplish when unified by a powerful, shared purpose. Engaging with these speculations is not a dismissal of their appeal, but an opportunity to reflect on our own assumptions about human potential. Do we underestimate the power of coordinated effort and accumulated knowledge passed down through centuries? The stones here challenge us to expand our definition of what is possible, not by looking to the stars for answers, but by recognizing the extraordinary capacity for innovation that has always existed here on Earth. Hidden beneath the grand courtyards, a network of subterranean passages tells a quieter story. These recently uncovered chambers, sealed for centuries, were not places of final rest but spaces for preparation and sacred storage. Archaeologists sifting through the compacted earth found fragments of ceremonial pottery, their surfaces still bearing traces of olive oil and incense. Alongside them lay simple stone tools worn smooth from years of use by anonymous hands. Each of these humble objects is a direct connection to the people who animated this place. The shape of a pottery sherd can reveal its purpose, whether it held water for purification rituals or grain for symbolic offerings. These are the quiet artifacts of daily devotion, the tangible remnants of a living faith that sustained the entire monumental endeavor. Even more telling are the structural ghosts found beneath the Roman temples. The foundations of earlier, smaller altars and shrines, their alignment slightly different, prove this was a holy site long before the empire's arrival. This layering of sacred space, one culture building directly upon the spiritual footprint of another, suggests a continuous thread of reverence that spanned millennia. Inscriptions carved into fallen blocks have been another key to unlocking the past. While many are in Latin dedicated to Jupiter, a handful of earlier markings use a different script and language, a tantalizing clue to the identities of the first builders. These finds do more than just fill museums, they actively reshape our understanding. The discovery of a particular type of loom weight, for instance, confirmed the presence of a permanent community of textile workers, likely producing the sacred vestments for priests. This single small find expands Baalbek from a mere construction site into a thriving, complex society with its own specialized economy. Every artifact, from the grandest inscribed stone to the most common tool, is a piece of a vast historical puzzle. As new pieces are carefully unearthed, they sometimes invite historians to reconsider their maps of the past, reminding us that the story of this place is still being written, one careful excavation at a time. Contemporary engineers face a profound question when they consider the Trilithon. With all our modern tools, from hydraulic cranes to laser-guided positioning systems, could we truly replicate this achievement? The answer is a qualified yes, but the sheer scale of the undertaking would be staggering. A modern project would require a purpose-built, multi-thousand-ton crane, a perfectly engineered transport route, and a budget that would dwarf most contemporary construction projects. The irony is that while we possess the raw power, the ancient methods were often more elegantly efficient, using locally sourced materials and renewable human energy. This is where experimental archaeology provides a vital perspective. Teams have successfully moved smaller megaliths using only timber, rope, and human coordination. These projects prove the methods are sound, but they also reveal something deeper. The true challenge is not the physics, but the immense social organization, the unwavering patience, and the generational skill required to see such a vision through. Each successful small-scale lift honors the countless unnamed masters who refined these techniques over lifetimes. This comparison between ancient and modern is not about declaring one superior to the other, but about recognizing a different kind of intelligence. The builders of Baalbek achieved a seamless integration of their project into the local environment and society, a lesson in sustainability that resonates powerfully today. Their work encourages modern architects to look beyond pure efficiency and consider the long-term harmony between a structure and its world. To ponder this challenge of replication is to appreciate the ancient endeavor as a perfect blend of art and science, where mathematical precision served a profound spiritual vision. It connects their monumental past directly to our own future possibilities, asking what we might build if we combined our technological power with their depth of purpose and patience. The very land itself became a silent partner in this grand endeavor. The builders of Baalbek did not fight their environment, they learned from it, selecting a specific type of local limestone prized for its unique qualities. This stone was durable enough to withstand millennia of weathering, yet soft enough to be precisely worked with the bronze and copper tools available. It was the perfect balance of strength and workability, a material that allowed for both colossal scale and hair-thin joints. This choice was not accidental. It was the first of many brilliant adaptations. The geology of the Bekaa Valley presented a constant, rumbling challenge, with seismic activity that could test a less thoughtful design. In response, the builders engineered for flexibility, not just rigidity. They created those interlocking foundations and tapered joints, designing a platform that could sway and settle as a single unit during an earthquake, dissipating that powerful energy. Think of it not as an immovable fortress, but as a resilient entity rooted to the land, designed to move with the Earth's rhythms rather than resist them. The cycle of the seasons also dictated the pace of work. The long, dry summers would have been the ideal time for the immense task of transporting the stones, when the ground was hard and firm, providing a stable surface for the heavy sledges. The rainy winters, meanwhile, may have been dedicated to the detailed, sheltered work of quarrying and precision stone dressing. This cyclical approach reveals a society deeply attuned to natural patterns, one that planned its most audacious human efforts in harmony with the weather. Every decision, from the quarry they opened to the shape of the blocks they cut, was a conversation with the landscape. They understood the properties of their local stone, the pressures of their tectonic setting, and the opportunities presented by their climate. This was not a conquest of nature, but a profound collaboration. The enduring presence of the stones today is a testament to the success of that partnership, a legacy of innovation born from a deep and respectful connection to the earth. Long after its builders had passed into memory, their stones began a new life in the stories of others. Medieval travelers from distant lands would journey for months to reach the fabled ruins, their written accounts filled with a mixture of reverence and disbelief. They described walls built by giants and halls fit for forgotten kings, their words weaving a layer of legend around the weathered stones that would capture the European imagination for centuries. When the Renaissance rekindled a passion for classical antiquity, these accounts inspired a new wave of artists and architects. Painters who had never set foot in the Bekaa Valley would fill their canvases with dramatic, imagined vistas of Baalbek. Its colossal columns often depicted rising from a romantic, sun-drenched desert. This artistic movement, known as Orientalism, presented the site through a lens of exotic mystery, a symbol of a timeless, unchanging East. While these visions were not always archaeologically precise, they served a powerful purpose. They transported the wonder of Baalbek into the salons and galleries of Europe, making its stones a topic of fascination for a global audience. This cultural echo directly influenced architectural revival movements, where designers incorporated elements inspired by Baalbek's grandeur into new buildings, from government capitals to grand museums. The public's understanding of the site was, for a long time, shaped more by these romantic paintings and travelogues than by any scientific report. This legacy in art and literature does something remarkable. It transforms Baalbek from a collection of ancient ruins into a living symbol. It becomes more than just a place, it becomes an idea, representing humanity's enduring drive to create, to explore, and to leave behind something that inspires awe in generations yet unborn. To stand there today is to feel the weight of not only the stones themselves, but of all the stories, paintings, and dreams they have generated across 1,000 years. This cultural resonance ensures that the site's true impact is measured not just in tons of limestone, but in its unbroken power to stir the human soul. The silent stones still hold their deepest secrets, but the tools for listening are growing more powerful every day. Emerging technologies are now opening doors to parts of the site that have been invisible for millennia. Light detection and ranging, or LiDAR, uses laser pulses from aircraft to digitally strip away vegetation and surface soil, revealing the subtle contours of forgotten walls and pathways hidden beneath. Ground-penetrating radar sends energy pulses deep into the earth, creating a sonar-like map of subterranean chambers and foundations without ever breaking ground. These non-invasive methods allow researchers to see the entire site as a complete, interconnected system, rather than just a collection of individual ruins. Perhaps the most transformative tool is artificial intelligence, which can process millions of data points from scans and excavations, spotting patterns and connections that would take a human team a lifetime to find. These technological leaps are guiding us toward the most profound, unanswered questions. Who were the very first people to conceive of this place, and what name did they call themselves? Why was the largest stone ever cut simply abandoned in its quarry, a project halted for reasons we can only imagine? And what is the true, full scale of the world that lies beneath our feet, a network of tunnels and rooms that might rewrite the entire story of this valley? This new era of discovery is fueled by global cooperation. International teams of archaeologists, geologists, and engineers are pooling their expertise, sharing data across continents to build a unified understanding. Their collaborative work promises to refine our dating methods with astonishing precision, potentially confirming that some stones were set in place thousands of years earlier than we once believed. Each new finding does not simply close a case, it often opens a dozen new lines of inquiry. The future of Baalbek research is not about finding a single, final answer. It is about embracing an evolving narrative, one where every solved mystery reveals a deeper, more compelling question waiting just beneath the surface. This continuous cycle of discovery ensures that the conversation between the past and the present will never truly end. The megalith builders of Baalbek left us a testament to human creativity and perseverance, a legacy carved from the very substance of the earth. Their work stands as a profound dialogue between ambition and stone, a conversation that lasted for generations. We see this not just in the staggering weight of the Trilithon, but in the patient geometry of the foundations and the celestial alignments woven into the platform's design. Each element, from the largest block to the smallest symbol, tells a unified story of a culture that combined immense skill with deep spiritual devotion. They achieved engineering at a scale that continues to humble our modern assumptions and inspire a sense of wonder. Reflecting on these achievements, we are reminded that the past holds powerful lessons in innovation and collaboration. Their success was not rooted in mystery, but in the collective will of a society united by a shared, sacred purpose. This journey into the heart of Baalbek's story encourages us all to look closer at the ancient world, to question the stories we think we know, and to appreciate the quiet wonders that still speak across the millennia. What other forgotten chapters of human potential are waiting to be rediscovered? We would love to hear your thoughts on this enduring enigma in the comments below. And if you are eager for more deep dives into history's greatest puzzles, be sure to subscribe for our next exploration.